In preparation for the new season, here is a recap of the latest episodes. So the first episode starts with a galaxy troll battle, which turns out to be Otto the bus driver tripping after having a pot brownie. How he still has a driving license, I don't know.
Dude, you shouldn't have let him eat that whole pan of acid brownies.
Now Otto is missing, it cuts to a parents' assembly where they're told they have to drive their own kids to school. The parents aren't happy about this and even angrier when they're told they could start carpooling.
I'll kill you!
They settle on the kids walking to school so they don't have to do anything. Who wants to get up in the morning with their kids, right? The principals ask for one volunteer to help walk the children across the street as they're short on crossing guards, but everyone shakes their heads until Homer pipes up.
Hell yeah! You know I'm in. I've been waiting for this my whole life.
But it turns out he was watching the trailer for the Revenge of the Nerds reboot featuring John Cena.
Dear God.
He complains at work about having to get up at 6 a.m. when the power plant gets a code blue. Everyone starts to panic, and they work together, even Mr. Burns, to try and fix the generator. Everyone except Homer. Homer looks back and forth between his calm console and Lenny's console, which is in total chaos. They all start celebrating when the alarm stops, but Homer has a question.
Shouldn't my console have been doing all that beepy stuff?
They admit his console is a dummy and isn't even plugged in.
Are you guys saying I've never kept anyone safe?
Naturally, Homer is upset by this and complains to Marge about it. Cut to the next day, the kids walk up to Homer so he can help them cross the street.
Please don't let him embarrass us.
And obviously, he embarrasses himself instantly by getting stuck in the chair. The kids start bullying Homer and Ralph goes to cross the street unattended. Homer realizes at the last second and knocks Ralph out of the way just as a speeding Barney races toward him. He makes the news for saving Ralph and is now seen as a local hero.
And now Simpson has become something of a curbside celebrity.
He gets a promotion and a uniform.
The only people that wear badges are power-hungry chumps who want to keep the little guy down.
And that is exactly what happens. He starts training his men like they're in the Navy with the one main rule, look left and right. The power goes to his head and Moe's Pub even turns into crossing guys only. Sorry, Lenny and Carl. Principal Skinner tries to warn Homer how busy the following Monday will be when it's the science fair, bake sale, and picture day all at the same time. Now that's just going too far. But Homer ignores him and doesn't want to hear the advice.
Are you telling me how to do my job?
So, as expected, the morning comes and it's absolute chaos. Cars everywhere, people fighting, and it ends in a science experiment gone wrong. Homer racks his brain on who to blame and ends up blaming it on the lack of budget. He gets the parents on his side, and then Mayor Quimby caves.
Somebody get my enormous checkbook.
Homer goes all out and uses the budget to turn his team into something out of an action movie with RPGs, explosions, and even a surveillance satellite in space. So Mayor Quimby is obviously forced to reduce the funding, which leads to Homer creating political ads to bully the mayor. You gotta give it to him, the ads are like something out of the US election.
Shut him down.
It's the cops versus the crossing guard. They end up in a standoff in the middle of Springfield, and for some reason, everyone joins in. Parking enforcement, TSA, even lifeguards. Homer is ready to fight when suddenly he gets run down by Otto. The episode ends with Homer in the hospital where he sees his family as nails and he's the hammer. Yes, that's how it ends. Episode 2 starts with Marge bringing home groceries to a cute baby Bart and Lisa. She laughs at how adorable they are and hands them a bubble machine she bought them. She watches them playing and laughing, which has her tearing up, telling Homer that the memory is slipping away too fast. The scene takes a chaotic turn as Bart starts flying away in a bubble that pops and disappears, and Marge wakes up looking, well, like she's seen better days. I didn't know the Simpsons could turn this color. She and Homer work out she's got food poisoning and probably drank too much Frozy the night before, which becomes even more clear when she runs to the bathroom to throw up.
Homer, don't listen. We have to keep the romance alive.
She goes back into a deep sleep, dreaming about the past, but her innocent memories turn into a nightmare as Bart goes missing. It cuts to her in a field where Homer is an otter. Yes, an otter, and Lisa is the know-it-all. No change there. Marge wants to go back and look at some other recent memories.
So I can decide that all my thoughts from yesterday are stored in, I don't know, the oven?
She opens the oven to see all her stored thoughts. Normal. She opens the folder, Bart screaming, and, you guessed it, she hears Bart screaming for help. But it turns out he just has a splinter. Homer mentions she might be dreaming about Bart so much because he isn't as loving as he was when he was a baby. She asks him why she was drinking on a school night the day before, to which Homer replies, saying he needed a drink after Bart's parent-teacher conference. She goes back to the oven to look at the memories from that day, and it cuts to Bart's teacher, who wants to talk about Bart's transition to the 5th grade, the last grade before middle school.
They may look like children, but they smell like nervous cab drivers.
Marge realizes Bart is finally growing up and isn't far off no longer being a child. She wakes up and tries to start getting ready for the school bounce-a-thon, but she still looks a mess. When she runs to throw up again, Homer convinces her to stay home. She's never missed a bounce-a-thon before, so she makes Homer take photos of all the best parts, especially a thumbs up at the finish line to add to her photo album. Bart breaks it to Marge that he doesn't actually like bounce-a-thon anymore and says no to doing a thumbs up. It's not cool anymore, apparently. She loses it again at the thought of Bart growing up before falling into another dream where Homer is buff and they're getting chased by a bear. Your guess is as good as mine. Oh, and the all-knowing Lisa is back too.
But even after Bart grows up, you'll still have Lisa and Maggie.
Oh my God, Lisa and Maggie.
She realizes she's going to lose all of them, and the dream turns into a nightmare once again, with Marge trying to cling to her past. Don't worry, Marge. Nobody grows up in The Simpsons. It cuts to Marge seeing Bart in a playground taking selfies, and she's blown to smithereens when she realizes, again, he's not a kid anymore. Homer is now a dog, don't ask, and Marge is trying to come to terms with her days as a mom coming to an end. Homer, the dog, opens the oven to look at some more memories, and they replay the morning of the bounce-a-thon when she announces she's still coming. Looking at it from a different angle, she realizes she was so focused on Bart that she missed out on Lisa's excitement, even practicing her thumbs up for the end of the race. Marge realizes she still has Lisa for now and starts to feel better about her future.
I'll be there, Lisa. I won't miss it.
Her main goal is to get to the school before the bounce-a-thon ends, just with a lot of throwing up on the way. She finally gets to the finish line to see Lisa, looking like death, when she starts to smell all the awful fried food stands and she passes out. Bart's woke teacher comes to the rescue and clears up a few things about Bart.
Wait, you didn't say he was heading toward girls and drugs and acne?
No, of course not.
Homer returns to Marge one final time in her dreams. The episode ends with Marge getting her final picture of Bart, and even though he moons everyone, she loves the photo nonetheless, and heads off with Bart to dunk his teacher. Episode 3 opens with Homer getting off work, putting on his leather jacket, and getting into his Lambo.
Nice car. What are the odds?
He goes on a ride through the mountains and starts to run out of gas, so he signals for a plane to come down and fill him up. Ah, yes, the normal way to fill up a car in Springfield. He speeds up, heading towards a cliff, and goes for the jump. And just when he's about to crash and burn, literally, he ejects the wings. Is this Fast and Furious 11? Homer wakes up at his desk. Ah, that makes sense now. So the family gets dressed up to go and meet their new neighbors, since Marge wants to make a good impression. And Bart starts by mooning them. The neighbors don't seem too phased and thank Marge for the welcome basket. Homer asks the man what he does for work, and it turns out he's a Lamborghini salesman. He even asks if Homer wants to go for a test drive. Naturally, the two become friends and realize they have one thing in common.
Who's that stupid guy?
Hating Flanders. At school, the principal is showing the kids an anti-bullying campaign which Nelson ignores since he is the bully, which leads to a cut of him bullying the teachers, kids, and even Superintendent Chalmers. He gives Bart the ultimate wedgie, which pushes Bart to his breaking point, who tells Lisa he's getting tired of the bullying. Meanwhile, Homer and his new friend head out for ice cream, where Thayer tells Homer it's time for the test ride.
Are you ready for the ride of your life?
I was born ready.
Homer is getting suspicious of why Thayer wants to be friends with him, but keeps getting distracted by his new friend's crazy lifestyle. But it's not until 7 a.m. the next morning that Marge and Homer find out the neighbors are renovating.
So he wasn't trying to sell you a car? He was trying to trick you into agreeing to all of this?
I can't believe a car salesman would lie to me.
While this is happening, Bart is still terrified of Nelson and trying to avoid him at all costs. Lisa says she learned about cyberbullying online and shares embarrassing footage of Nelson around the whole school. Having been publicly shamed, Nelson ends up under Bart's control. Back at the car center, Homer confronts Thayer about the renovation, but wouldn't you know it, Homer gets sweet-talked into another test drive. So Homer takes the car and whisks Marge away for a romantic late-night drive, much to the teenagers' disgust.
They're married. To each other!
Bart tries to get Nelson to do what he wants when Lisa loses control, literally. Since Nelson found his own nerd to take down the videos, he jumps back into being the school bully full force. Homer is trying to relax in the garden when the fan from the new house next door blows him away. Marge comes out and they realize the new house blocks all the sunlight, but the best solution they can come up with is to mutter under their breath. Lisa and Hubert have a nerd-off, battling to get control over the Nelson videos when they suddenly stop because they realize this is not going to be a good look on a college application. You gotta think about the future. Bart and Nelson forget what they're fighting about and start playing together nicely. Instead of focusing on the video, Lisa and Hubert join forces and come up with a plan to take down the new house.
So, this street is a historical landmark. All their renovations are not permitted.
Homer confronts Thayer again, and he ends up losing all his customers at the Lamborghini dealership. Victorious over Thayer, Homer and Marge drive off into the sunset with their old busted car until it breaks down. Episode 4 starts with Matt Groening setting Mr. Burns up for an interview to talk about Persephone O'Dare, an entrepreneur who ruined his life. It then cuts to 1 year earlier as Persephone does a TED Talk about her company's invention, which can purify water and is as small as
a can of oats.
Lisa starts her interview by fangirling hard over Persephone. The entrepreneur talks about her company, Lifeboat, and how she was inspired to create it. She's one of those people that makes every sentence an inspirational one. She tells the story of her grandpa who died on a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean because he had no clean drinking water, and explains that she's looking for investors to expand her company. This prompts Lisa to accidentally tell her about Mr. Burns, which leads her out on a mission to get the billionaire's attention.
Persephone was not shy about hounding Mr. Burns, and he wasn't shy about hounding her.
Her relentlessness earns her 5 minutes to win over Mr. Burns, and tries to do so by convincing him that investing will make him one of the greats. Burns brings his richest friends in to see about investing. Everyone loves Lifeboat and gets on board, including Lisa, who thinks Persephone can transform Mr. Burns into a better man. Good luck with that one, kid. The episode then switches to a documentary about how the company grew.
Is this one of those documentaries where I'm not supposed to look at the camera? Or is it like The Office, where I always look at it?
Homer walks in on a private ceremony where Burns and Persephone are getting married, and in true Jim fashion, turns to stare right into the camera. The two quickly become the new power couple, Persephone and Burns, that is, and live the rich lifestyle, getting papped wherever they go and even showing up at the Met Gala. That's a questionable outfit, Burns. This is when things start to take a turn. People around Springfield become suspicious that the company may be hiding something huge.
Because of those NDAs he signed, Homer couldn't even tell me how his day was.
They were hiding something, and it was really freaking me out. So I emailed Persephone.
And the next day, Carl was gone.
After Mr. Burns buys Persephone Twitter, the average gift if you're married to Mr. Burns, he deletes all negative comments about the company, further making people question what's going on. An anonymous whistleblower, someone who looks suspiciously like Lenny, outs the company, telling the people about Carl going missing, and that the scandal is the Lifeboat product doesn't even work. To do even more damage control, Mr. Burns buys the company that's making the original documentary so he can make sure they get painted in a good light, but people still discuss it on other shows. The whistleblower's rough cut gets leaked, and the big reveal is that it was Homer who released the info about the product not working. Discovering this, Persephone sets out to destroy the Simpsons' dad. Homer is secretly told to meet at a secluded location, as he has to see something, so Lisa goes with him. They find Carl hiding away in the Lifeboat labs, and he admits he's being forced to add jab into the product, a drink that was banned in the 70s.
Jabotos was so strong, it could completely mask the taste of salt.
So the product wasn't actually purifying the water. It was just masking the taste of the salt with sweetness.
Lifeboat is built on a lie, and Persephone is a fraud!
The school's drinking fountains had also been replaced with the Lifeboat purifier, so Homer rushes to tell Mr. Burns what his wife is really doing. Burns realizes the kids are going to be poisoned by the salted water, and that he will be liable. Yes, that's the only reason he decided to take action. He runs toward the children to try and stop them from drinking, but it's too late. The kids disintegrate into dust. Psych, they only put this in the documentary so they could show it on the trailer.
Do you know how hard it is to get people to watch a documentary that's not about a small-town murder?
Homer had actually turned off the pipes before they drank the water. Persephone remains adamant that she's in the right and pleads not guilty even when she's sent to jail. The episode ends with Mr. Burns bouncing back after the whole debacle, literally. The next episode is, believe it or not, the 34th Treehouse of Horror special, and it's, well, a questionable one. The first segment, Wild Bart's Can't Be Token, starts with Mayor Quimby saying the art gallery is finally closed, and all art will be digitized. Homer and Bart break into the art gallery to try and digitize their own art so they can make some money.
Starting with the true masterpiece, My Butt.
It's a joke that backfires as the digitized art ends up trapped in the void of the internet. It turns out, though, he's actually worth $1.5 million. Can I get a piece of this action?
He is the first NFT of an actual person.
Kylie Jenner, Rob Gronkowski, and Jimmy Fallon come to the rescue. Yes, you heard me. I'm confused as well. They're part of a team that helps protect cryptocurrency and have come to help Marge go into the blockchain to find Bart and bring him home. When Marge enters, she's zapped into the back of a train as she is only worth $8. The more you're worth, the further down the train you'll be. She accidentally kills another low-worth NFT and levels up to $21, moving up to another train card.
So to rescue Bart, I need to kill a bunch of you guys.
Realizing her value goes up after killing an NFT, Marge goes on a killing spree in the NFT cat room and starts leveling up. Marge is quite the fighter. The NFTs fight back, but Marge somehow always wins. Somehow she's had some secret combat training we don't know about.
Dad, you said you were taking me to bumper boats.
The word gets out that Marge's price tag is going up, and human NFTs are worth a lot.
No one is putting another child into that scanner before mine.
Everyone is ready to sacrifice their kids for that jackpot. Marge kills Ralph House and levels up to $10 million. She finally makes it to the front of the train, but Bart doesn't want to leave. He's actually enjoying himself. I think I would be enjoying myself too in that kind of luxury. Mr. Burns wants to buy Bart, and Homer actually considers it. As he's ready to crack and make the sale, Marge unlocks the blockchain door and makes it back to the real world. But Homer clicks sell at the exact same time, selling himself for $100 million because he didn't want to miss out. The block train comes to a stop when the NFT's FOMO plummets. Oh yeah, apparently the train runs on FOMO power. I don't even know what's going on anymore. But the NFT prices drop and Homer is worth nothing. That ends the first segment. Now swiftly, on to the next. This segment is called 8, and we're transported back to the Cape Fear episode from back in the day, except this time, Sideshow Bob actually kills Bart. Cut to 30 years later, and Lisa is now a psychologist, dean of the true crime department, and even uses her childhood trauma to publish a book.
Oh right, like Bart, because he got murdered.
Nelson is now a police officer and asks Lisa for some help on a case he's working on. She gets there to find a message on the floor saying, "Hi, Lisa. Rob Flanders is dead." So she sets to work trying to piece together what happened, true crime style. It turns out there are multiple deaths, all the same style, with the same messages saying they are the first. Lisa can only think of one person who would understand the mind of a psychopath, Sideshow Bob. She figures out the first means they're the firstborn and heads to a warehouse where the killer's lair is. Nelson gets murdered, and Lisa finds his body, but when she walks into another room, she sees it's identical to her childhood bedroom. She looks at the security camera to see if the killer appears anywhere, but plot twist, she watches herself kill Nelson.
I can't be the killer. I turned my trauma into healing.
She's sent to prison, the same prison Sideshow Bob is currently at, and as he's taken to his cell, Lisa comes out of the shadows to reveal the truth.
I knew if I killed enough people in the most gruesome possible ways, they'd send me to your prison.
It turns out Maggie is the prison guard who helps Lisa get into Sideshow Bob's cell. Lisa finally snaps, and it ends with her murdering Bob in his cell while Maggie stands on watch. The next segment is called Outbreak, and it starts with Homer scoffing down donuts at work. Typical. His donut flies out of his hand and rolls across the power plant, rolling in some questionable stuff. Of course, he eats it anyway, and wakes up that night with a stomachache, and burping green gas. He speaks to Ned the next morning and burps into Flanders' face. Not surprising at all. Later on at church, Flanders starts to feel, well, strange.
I've been neighborinoed into Home Diddly Homer.
After turning into Homer, he burps into the crowd, and they all get Homer-fied.
Kiss my ass, Churchos.
Soon enough, the whole town is Homer.
Everyone's turning into Dad.
Lisa, Bart, and Maggie evacuate as Professor Frink tells them they need to find Homer. They go on the hunt for him and find him in a restroom at a gas station. Frink tells him how they're going to change everyone back, but Homer isn't having it, as he's happy now that everyone likes the same things he does. But then, he sees Marge. At first, he seems shocked and upset, until...
You've never looked more beautiful!
Apparently, he likes her better now. Everyone turns into Homer before ending the episode with a song.
This must be just like living in paradise.
Catchy, huh? It's 3 a.m., and Bart is watching John Wick in the dark, loving every moment of the epic fight scenes.
The violence Mom won't let me watch is the best.
The next minute, a car crashes just outside of the Simpsons' house, and the whole street comes out to see what's going on. Marge gets judged by all the other moms for the old and wrecked robe she's wearing. The other moms say their kids buy them new robes every year, to which Lisa and Bart start to look guilty. Homer steps on a live wire electrocuting himself, and Lenny and Carl tell him about a neighborhood alarm app they have, which shows any dangers people need to be aware of. Homer downloads the app to report the live wire hazard and sees there's a leaderboard for the most hazards reported.
I'll get to the top of this leaderboard if it's the most useless thing I ever do.
We all need something to get us through the day. The next day, Lisa tells Bart they need to buy Marge something for her birthday this time and not just give her macaroni stuff. They trick Flanders into giving them money and go to the store to buy Marge a robe until they see the new Junior Operative toy.
This kit is the same price as the robe.
Bart takes it to the till before Lisa can reason with him, and they get a free ironing board cover with purchase. Marge now has a present. All moms love to iron, right? Marge's birthday comes around and she opens her iron board cover. Let's just say she's not too happy with this particular gift. Lisa and Bart take full advantage of their game and think Marge is enjoying her present.
And Mom loves her present. She can't stop muttering about it.
They spy on Springfield and pick up on Flanders and Marge's conversation as Marge starts crying, saying she's barely an afterthought to her family and doesn't feel appreciated.
Bart, she's feeling unseen.
What? I always see her. She's in my phone contacts 3 times under Mom, Mommy, and Sandwich.
The kids start to understand their mom's point of view and go back to feeling guilty. On the other side of town, Homer is trying to get onto the leaderboard and walks around trying to find any little thing he can report.
Those fat fingers are too slow for the silver bullet.
Homer discovers that Agnes Skinner has overtaken him on the app, desperate to beat him out. Lisa and Bart make a list to figure out what to get Marge, but struggle to come up with anything. So instead, they use the lockpicking tools from their new toy to get into Marge's memory box. They find out Marge had a pet bird when she was a child called Petey, and set out to try and find him. Homer finds a fallen branch in the park and warns everyone to stay away. Thinking the notification is for something worse, everyone starts running. Slight overreaction, maybe? Homer has a report-off with Agnes and starts reporting the craziest stuff until they fall down a sinkhole. But since everyone already evacuated the park, nobody's there to save them. Way to go, Homer. Lisa and Bart get to a nearby town and ask around about Petey the bird. They find Petey in a nearby tree and bring him home to Springfield. Back in the sinkhole, Agnes starts choking on some candy, but luckily, Homer saves her.
Instead of mongering fear, you mongered
life itself.
Homer helps her out and she alerts everyone of the sinkhole, taking the #1 spot on the leaderboard. Lisa and Bart surprise Marge with Petey, but she starts screaming, which triggers Petey to attack her. She says she got rid of him because of this very issue, but she appreciates the trouble the kids went to. The episode ends with a cut scene that shows Marge coming out in a new robe after there's another car crash, letting Marge have her special moment. This episode starts at Thanksgiving dinner 60 years from now, where a 3D printer is making the turkey dinner and Homer has passed away, but has a hologram in his place. They all light candles on their phones, and Lisa gets to talking about what Thanksgiving was like when she was young, before the great blackout.
It started on a cold November day, back when you could actually see snow outside of a museum.
There are reports of a blizzard coming to Springfield, so everyone is preparing for the storm. Marge asks Homer if he's installed the storm windows yet, but after their windows start smashing, it's clear he didn't. What did she honestly expect? The Simpsons start getting excited about Thanksgiving, but as usual, Lisa isn't happy about them calling it Turkey Day.
You're celebrating the slaughter of a living thing.
Lisa, you always slaughter the mood.
He's not wrong. It's Hawaiian Day at Homer's work, and Mr. Burns plans on replacing all his current staff with all new non-union workers to save him money. Workers who can also sing. Yeah, I have no idea, but Mr. Burns loves a good sing-along.
Now do call Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and reclaim my title of the world's most self-serving billionaire.
Homer almost throws the trash from the party into the reactor core, which is right next to the trash chute, but quickly realizes his mistake and puts it in the correct place. Mr. Burns plugs his phone into an overloaded plug socket and it starts a fire, making the alarm go off. Everyone evacuates as he claims the plant is ruined. The town is left with no power, an issue that people start to blame Homer for since he usually makes all the mistakes. Homer is being suspiciously helpful to Marge, so she also presumes Homer is to blame. The family starts to panic when they realize how bad the blackout is, and Homer tells them not not to worry because the government will help.
The government cannot help itself, let alone you.
Sounds about right. Marge mentions that they can at least still have Thanksgiving, but she finds the fridge empty and guesses that Homer ate all the food. So Homer heads to Moe's, but nobody wants him there either. During the night, the residents of Springfield move the Simpsons' whole house to the top of a cliff. And yes, this is all while the Simpsons are still inside.
At least there's no more stupid.
Howdy, neighbor. I asked him to move my house right next to yours.
Oh!
Homer proves to his wife that he didn't eat the Thanksgiving food. Rather, he was just keeping it cold, buried in the snow. They set out to prove Homer's innocence by outing Mr. Burns and turning the town against the billionaire. But for Homer,
we're still a little mad. This brought back a lot of memories of stuff you actually did do.
They bring the house back, Homer gets the food out of the snow, and they all have Thanksgiving dinner together.
Your story was so long I died of boredom.
Well, that's our cue. Episode 8 starts with the boys being told they have to dance with the girls in their school gym class.
If we dance with girls, that means we'll have to touch them.
The gym teacher demonstrates what they have to do, and the boys are horrified, to say the least.
They're gonna get cooties for sure!
Trying to help, Bart grabs what he thinks are Band-Aids and tells his friends to put them on so they can reduce contact with the girls. It turns out they're nicotine patches, which sends the boys spiraling. It's like a zombie apocalypse out here. They trash the school, and Principal Skinner isn't happy. Seymour punishes Bart with a supermax detention where he has to spend all day in a shed with groundskeeper Willie. That night, Marge and Homer are in bed scrolling through their phones. Oh, how the Simpsons have changed. When Marge gets an e-invite to a wedding. Not just any wedding, a destination wedding.
As I like to call them, forced vacations.
This is Homer's worst nightmare as he spends days explaining why they are so awful, ranging from being forced to mingle with people they don't like to how expensive it is for something they don't really want to do. Marge realizes they have air miles they can use to pay for the wedding and says that they're going. Bart's still in detention and gets angry at the fact he's here when he doesn't deserve to be. He tells Willie he's here because he didn't want to touch a girl, and Willie fully agrees with his choices, getting emotional about a girl back in Scotland who left him. Bart starts bonding with Willie, having the time of their lives until he can't find Willie anywhere. Bart thinks something has happened to him, but gets a FaceTime call from Willie telling Bart he's in Edinburgh and needs help. Help from a 10-year-old boy. Okay. Bart begs his family to let him go to Scotland to help, and Homer realizes this is his escape from going to the destination wedding, so he convinces Marge to transfer their air miles to Scotland instead. They get to Edinburgh, and when Bart finds Willie, it turns out he's having the time of his life and getting married. Homer realizes he has turned up to another destination wedding. It gets to the rehearsal dinner, and Marge makes a toast, embarrassing herself by telling everyone she and Homer aren't romantic anymore.
Now we just spend every night doom scrolling our life away.
Bart overhears the wedding guests talking about how the wedding is a setup, and the girl doesn't even love Willie. They lock Bart in a towner to keep him from telling anyone. On the wedding day, Bart escapes and crashes the wedding to tell Willie the truth. His wife says she doesn't know anything about Bart's claims, and shows her love by headbutting Willie? Is that a thing in Scotland? Episode 9 starts with Marge getting mail from her mailbox, finding some letters stuck to the top that turn out to be COVID checks she didn't cash. Bart wants a motorbike, but Lisa suggests something that would benefit everyone, a family cruise.
Wait, that's the move? Go all sincere and emo? Gross.
She tells him that Homer might need a bit more convincing, so they tell him they're going on a normal cruise.
What the hell is wrong with this boat?
Turns out it's a ComicCon cruise, which Homer calls a nerd boat.
The nerd boat!
Catchy. Lisa fangirls over Taika Waititi, who's also on the boat.
Oh, and you're by far my favorite on-screen Hitler.
The comic book guy is also there, and Bart reveals he hates the comic book guy because he shredded his comic. He's there to sell a rare figurine, and when it comes time to auction, the lights are turned off and his figurine is beheaded. Everyone blames Bart since he had a motive, and he's sent to ship jail as a result. Is ship jail a real thing? To prove it wasn't him that beheaded the figure, he admits to everything he has ever done to Lisa, which doesn't include this crime.
Oh my god, I believe you.
Lisa and Taika Waititi try to prove Bart's innocence by questioning everyone on the boat.
Why don't we start with fans of the Taikaverse? Whoops, that's everyone!
Almost everyone has motives for committing the crime, as they all admit they actually hate comic book guy for different reasons. Lisa goes back to her cabin and finds the decapitated head in Bart's things. Angry and confused, she starts doubting Bart again.
Sometimes, no matter how much you love someone, they're just going to let you down.
Rainer Wolfcastle comes out of literally nowhere and tells Lisa he knows who did it, as he was wearing his night vision goggles when the lights went off. normal, but he gets hit in the head before he can tell her who the culprit was. Comic book guy goes missing, a lot is going on, and Taika puts on a show to solve the mystery, dramatic film style. He says it was comic book guy himself that decapitated the figurine, but Lisa has a theory of her own after seeing the word color spelled with a U on the figurine box. It turns out it was Taika all along. There were only 2 figurines in the world, and he had the other one but broke it, so he switched them out when the lights went off.
Yes, it's true, Lenny. I did it!
But what happened to comic book guy, you may ask? He heard how much everyone hated him in the interrogations and hid. Episode 10 starts with Abe Simpson announcing he's retiring from his championship fishing. I didn't even know he fished, but sure, apparently he has a 20-year win streak, and he is ready for Homer to take over. Homer is wallowing in self-pity, as always, and tells Marge he doesn't think he can do it.
I never win anything. Why does my dad think I'll win this fishing contest?
On Lisa's end, she wants to attend summer camp so she can put it on her college application. Her application is going to be too long if she keeps doing this. She asks Principal Skinner if he can write her a letter of recommendation, but he doesn't seem very competent.
Many interests. And print.
Back to the contest. They're 3 hours in and Homer hasn't even moved yet, let alone caught anything.
If I wanted to watch Dad sit and do nothing, I'd visit him at work.
Homer fails miserably and everyone laughs at him, but somehow a fish lands in his boat. The weight to beat is 7.2 pounds, and Homer is next to weigh, which comes in at 10.4 pounds. We have a winner!
I've never won anything before.
Yeah, Homer, we know. Homer gets ready to gut his prize-winning fish for the family to eat when marbles start to fall out.
You added weight to my fish? With marbles?
Bart awkwardly tries to act dumb on where they came from. Bart says watching him lose was so boring and he couldn't take it anymore. Homer comes to the realization that he didn't actually win, but he's happy about it. The next day at school, Homer takes Bart out of school for a doctor's appointment.
This isn't the way to the doctor.
Homer wants to fuel that rush of winning again and starts cheating at as many competitions as he can, with Bart's help, of course. The first competition is competitive rock skipping. Woo, exciting. And Homer has 22 skips to beat, and he gets 46 skips. Cut to Bart reeling the rock in on a fishing line. They win and take home a giant trophy.
Cheating with you feels so right. Can we do it one more time?
They've now got the knack for it and cheat on everything they can, from poker to a slapping contest. Marge starts becoming suspicious and asks Homer if he's cheating, but Homer makes out that it's a father-son bonding thing he's doing to be a good dad. Marge tells him to do another form of bonding with his son, but he isn't having it. Lisa gets told she's been accepted onto the summer camp's rowing team. Confused, she checks her application and sees that someone has sent in, badly, photoshopped images of her rowing, and she instantly thinks it's Homer.
No, we didn't. Why would we help someone who's already good at things?
She tells everyone he's cheating at the axe throwing contest and shows the crowd the magnet he's using to get a clear shot. The other contestants realize he was cheating at the other games too and chase him away with the axes. Homer swears it wasn't him that uploaded those pictures of Lisa, and as she gets even more mad, Marge admits it was her. Homer and Bart start to feel guilty, thinking they've corrupted Marge. The Simpsons get thrown into a van and taken to Lisa's summer camp. It turns out the school is proud of cheating and is more than happy with Lisa lying on her application because everyone cheats in America. The next episode is apparently based on true events. Homer is a fresh employee at the power plant and is ready to climb the corporate ladder. Aren't we all? Cut to the present day and Homer leaves work 40 minutes early after snoozing all day, and he wonders why he's still at the bottom of the ladder. He goes to Moe's for his daily beer and asks the bar owner where his ambition has gone. Professor Frink comes into the picture and tells Homer how he's also unhappy with where he's gone in life. Homer gets an offer for a job interview at a new power plant, but doesn't think he'll even have a chance at getting it. That is, until Frink offers to help.
I will help you with the power of science.
Homer is ready for his Zoom interview, with Frink there for moral support.
But I am the kind of nerd that always must blurt out the answer.
Since Frink is telling Homer the answers to everything, the interviewers are impressed enough that they offer him the job instantly. Frink reluctantly agrees to help Homer by using a pair of glasses he'll be able to communicate through.
There was nothing you couldn't handle.
There was nothing I couldn't handle.
Homer finishes his first day at work, and Marge is excited they can move up a social class with all the money coming in.
I can take a bath for as long as I want in the middle of the day.
Ah, the dream. Homer is assigned an assistant who, during the interview, was confident she would get the job. You could say she wasn't exactly happy about that. She brings Lenny and Carl in to spill the dirt on Homer and soon finds out that Homer has had Professor Frink in his ear the whole time, which only heightens Frink's guilt.
I've crossed a line. I've become a mad scientist.
Frink ambushes Homer and tells him he can't do it anymore.
Get back in my brain where you belong.
Because of Homer's outstanding performance, he gets invited to a company ski trip, but Frink refuses to help.
Frink out.
His assistant tells Marge about what Homer has been doing, and he finally tells the company the truth, which results in him going back to Mr. Burns' power plant, right back where he belongs. In episode 12, Lisa is terrified of Homer's reckless driving as he speeds down the street while dropping Bart off at soccer, before taking her to therapy. That was a pretty impressive parallel park, though. The therapist tells Marge and Homer that Lisa feels like she has a lack of control in life, but has made a breakthrough during her last session, learning that her anxiety is caused by, you guessed it, Homer's driving. Lisa is taken to an immersion therapy center where she's exposed to driving a go-kart, and she ends up loving it.
Oh, that wasn't so bad.
Lisa dominates local races and even enters into a big competition in K1 racing.
And despite her dollar store upbringing, Lisa Simpson stands poised for international glory.
All the other contestants and their rich families have to attend Springfield Public School, which Bart takes full advantage of by getting them what they want, but for a price. Classic Bart. On the day of Lisa's race, Homer and Marge sit in the stands as Lisa takes the lead. She adds another trophy to her collection, and as Homer puts her to bed, Lisa thanks him for taking away her fear of driving. Homer grows worried, though, since she's taking more risks than usual now that fear is gone.
I can't let you go. Racing is too dangerous.
Lisa isn't willing to and insists she's going to race. Now that Bart is friends with the other contestants, he finds out they're planning to sabotage Lisa during the race. They knock into her and cause her tire to fall off, her brakes to stop, and her steering wheel to fall off. It isn't looking good.
I'm gonna get you out of this mess the way I got you into this mess. By driving like a maniac!
Homer comes to the rescue with his reckless driving by brake-checking her. In episode 13, the children of Springfield head to the 4D cinema to watch a movie about the Ice Age. Marge is scrolling on her phone, arguing with the Homeowners Association when Principal Skinner tells her to keep it down. Milhouse invites Bart to a Violencia Gigante concert, and he begs Marge to let him go.
They rap in Spanish. It's educational.
Lisa shows Marge the original song translated into English, and Marge says there's no way he's going to the concert. Bart calls Milhouse's mom to try and get her to persuade Marge to let him go, but she calls him a bad friend and hangs up the phone. This is where the episode gets a bit weird. Throughout the episode, it cuts to scenes where the Simpsons are cavemen, and Marge is the protective mother. Marge is annoyed that another mother called Bart beyond hope.
After all the times we've let her, I'm just gonna say it, dweeb of a son dweeb it up in our house.
Marge and Homer get ready to go to the Van Hotens to have a little chat. Luann says she won't apologize, and what she said was true. The argument escalates to the point that Marge tells Homer to get Bart tickets to the concert. That'll show her, Marge.
If that woman wants a fight, she's gonna get one.
Again, it cuts to Marge as a cave woman protecting her family, and let's just say this happens every time Marge gets angry. Homer is frantically trying to get tickets on the computer as Marge says Bart's social life depends on it. It then cuts back to caveman times, but this time it's Homer hunting a deer. Homer finally gets the tickets and finally kills the deer.
Oh, you actually did it. Bart is saved.
Good parenting, Marge. Milhouse's friends ditch him for Bart, since he has better seats, which has Marge on cloud 9 now that she's the better mother. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Lisa tells Marge to breathe, and that she's in a state of fight or flight because someone's put her cub, Bart, in danger.
There's no threat. Bart is okay.
She is instantly put back into fight and flight when Luann tells the school that Bart is bullying her son. Marge and Luann go back and forth, basically roasting each other, and at the same time they cut to Marge killing a saber-toothed tiger. Again, are they comparing Bart being called a bad friend to being threatened by a saber-toothed tiger? They get to the concert and Marge can't get past the gate because she doesn't have the app with the tickets on. Homer deleted it.
You are dead to me.
Cut to caveman times and Homer dies. Pretty brutally. Back in real life, Marge, side by side with Cave Woman Marge, both try to save Bart. She sneaks him into the concert and goes fully feral. She realizes her mistake, apologizes to Bart, and makes up with Luann. And they become friends with the Sabretooth, because why wouldn't they? Episode 14 starts with Lisa taking Snowball for a walk.
There's nothing crazy about taking your cat for a walk.
Keep telling yourself that, Lisa. She visits the pet park for emotional support animals where Snowball attacks a little girl's emotional support chicken, leaving the Simpsons liable for the vet bills.
$16,000 for a chicken? I just ate a whole bucket of them for $20.
Marge decides she'll need to get a job to afford the bills, and finds one working the evening shift at a food delivery company, Gimme Chow, which means Homer, Bart, and Lisa are left to cook for themselves. The company is basically one kitchen which pretends to be 20 different restaurants, and, of course, Gil Gunderson is the shift manager.
Wait, so one kitchen is pretending to be 20 restaurants when it's actually 0 restaurants?
The orders start rolling in, and the staff, including Marge, frantically get to work. The kitchen is chaotic and Marge is losing it. It's been 2 months, and Marge asks the family how the cooking is going at home. They tell her she has nothing to worry about, but when she leaves, they pull out their phones and start ordering Gimme Chow.
Guys, we've been ordering delivery for 2 months.
So as it turns out, Marge is just cooking for them anyway. The workers are given smart watches, more like ankle monitors, to motivate them to work harder. Marge realizes they aren't getting paid for their overtime, and Gil tells her the company is tight on money. But later that night, Marge finds out it's run by a billionaire. Lisa tells Marge to run a union against the company, and she agrees.
Okay, let's bring this jerk back down to earth.
Marge tries to get her coworkers on board and tells them to keep it quiet, but it turns out they are being listened to through their ankle monitors. This becomes clear when they're shown a very corporate video about why not to join a union.
They'd rather spend their money on unsubtle cartoons than paying us fairly.
They all sign the union cards anyway, but the company puts Marge through hell by trying to make her bad at her job so they can fire her, because, they can't fire her unless they have a reason. Marge starts doing really well, until she fails at the last delivery, the Simpsons house. Marge isn't happy, but her co-workers come to the rescue by telling her that they are going on strike to get fair pay. Homer also isn't happy because now he can't get food delivered. So to get revenge, he becomes Gimme Chow's ambassador. I mean, that is a bit too far, Homer. Marge and Homer argue back and forth on TV about the unfair pay, and Marge tries to get people on her side.
Hey, we get how you feel. Now get in the kitchen and cook our meals.
Turns out, people sided with Homer because they missed their food being delivered. The billionaire of Gimme Chow ends the fight, claiming he has a way to stop the strikes. Marge thinks he's ready to pay everyone their fair wage, until he reveals he's just going to fire everyone.
Because Gimme Chow ghost kitchens are now fully robotic.
Sounds about right. The new delivery drones drop food on Springfield, and realizing he's in the wrong, Homer disables all the drones. He uses the gift cards he got from becoming an ambassador to pay the vet bills, and somehow they make up, and all is forgotten. Episode 15 starts with Homer, Lenny, and Carl at Moe's at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, watching a football game that's taking place in England. The guys convince Moe to place a bet on the game, which he does as the score goes back and forth until the last minute when they lose. Moe freaks and kicks everyone out, but when he tries to kick Larry out, they discover he's dead. Cut to his funeral as everyone pays their respects.
You spent more time with Larry than your own kids.
Larry's mom is at the funeral and mentions that all Larry did was talk about his best friends at Moe's Tavern. She asks the guys to stand up and talk about some memories they had with Larry. That's gonna be tough. I can't even think of one memorable moment of Larry myself.
I'm not talking. You talk.
I didn't know him.
No one did.
Your store was closest.
They try to make something up about Larry's love for fishing before running back to their seats. Marge shouts at them for not paying more attention to Larry. Cut to a sad montage of lonely Larry. They decide to take Larry's ashes to Serenity Falls after seeing a picture of it in Larry's diary. The next morning, Homer accidentally knocks Larry off the table, and they find a bunch of sapphires in his ashes. Moe says he must have been smuggling stolen goods over the border before he died.
Look, you and me need this money way more than Lenny and Carl, all right?
Moe gets Homer to lie about the gems so they can keep the money for themselves, but Homer doesn't feel great about the plan. Larry falls out of the back of the truck, and Lenny and Carl see what they're hiding.
You see,
Homer talked me into screwing yous over so we could keep them gems all for ourselves, all right?
Moe blames it all on Homer, and as soon as they start to fight, a sheriff arrests them for gem smuggling. A suspicious-looking sheriff, I might add. They start fighting about the situation until they overhear the sheriff talking on the phone about the bunch of losers that had the gems. It turns out he's speaking to Fat Tony and asks what he wants to do with them. When they realize they're going to die, Homer finds a flare gun in the trunk and shoots the sheriff just as he opens the car door. They go flying down the cliff but end up bonding. Really, guys? Right now? They jump out of the car on 3, but Homer doesn't. He instead says,
"You don't jump on 3, you jump on go!"
Larry's urn rolls down the hill alongside Homer and jams in the wheel, stopping the car. It turns out Larry didn't want to be at Serenity Falls. He wanted to be by the waterfall picture in Moe's bar, which looks suspiciously like the falls. But at least they bonded, right? Episode 16 starts with Homer and Marge getting ready for the Springfield Awards. He chokes on his shirt button after it pops off when he tries to force it around his neck. Marge tells him that he needs a shirt with a bigger collar, but Homer says that's neck shaming. Ned Flanders wins the Good Man Award, and Gerald wins the Best Silent Baby Award. Everyone seems to be winning, except the Simpsons, until the last award comes up, the Most Underappreciated Person Award, which goes to Marge Simpson. Marge wakes up and realizes it was just a dream. I wondered why the awards were springs. She's thrown back into her chaotic life with Lisa and Bart fighting, and Homer nagging her to help him in the shower. After a busy day looking after all the kids, taking the dog to the vet and taking Bart to the emergency room, Marge tries to text Homer for help multiple times, but he doesn't answer.
Oh my god, Marge has been trying to reach me all day.
Later that night, Homer comes home after being at Moe's, which Marge isn't happy about. He's ripped his pants and asks Marge to fix them. When she sits down to take a look, she puts on an antique TV show and notices the man is valuing the exact jeans Marge has in her hands.
Actually, with jeans, a highly distressed seat can increase the value.
The more used, the better, apparently. It turns out the jeans are worth $26,000, so she hides the pants from Homer. She sells the pants for $2,500 and realizes that actually won't get her far, especially in this economy.
I thought I'd enjoy this money, but I'm not happy. Ooh.
She doesn't feel great about spending the money on herself until she realizes Homer went to a baseball game without asking if she wanted to go. So in retaliation, she buys the biggest ring she can find. She ends up feeling so guilty that she tries to hide the ring, until she realizes Maggie won't judge her for wearing it. Hard to judge when you don't speak. Homer finds the ring and gets annoyed at first, but then remembers all the good things she does for the family and puts the ring on Marge's finger. Aww, an actual happy ending for once. In episode 17, Marge gets the kids ready for their doctor visits.
Mom and Dad told us we're gonna have the worst day ever, which means we're really going to have the best day ever.
Bart explains there's a new trend going around where adults fun punk their kids with a bait and switch, telling them they're going somewhere boring and then turning up somewhere fun. In this case, though, they actually are just going to the doctors. They're doing a whole year of doctor checkups in one day because this is the last day of their insurance and they want to make the most of it. Homer takes Lisa and Bart out for a treat after the doctors and ends up tipping at every place, even though most were self-serve. The family goes to a restaurant and finds that the service fee is already included on the bill.
At least nobody's leaning over my shoulder to shame me into leaving a tip.
But the waitress tells Homer there is also an additional place to give a tip.
What? They include the tip, and then I have to tip on top of the tip? A tip-top tip?
He tips $1, and the waitress runs after the family, thanking Homer. She shows him the bill, and it says $10K. He insists he just wrote $1 okay, but it's too late, as the waitress is so excited having never had this much money in her life. Surely she can't think that's a real tip. Homer can't bring himself to fix it, so instead he underlines where he wrote $10K. He goes viral online for his deed, and Marge tells him how much debt they'll be in. She makes him go back to the restaurant to admit it was a mistake, but he gets stopped along the way for autographs. The people in the street watch him buy a newspaper and cheer him on to tip, and he ends up giving away all the money in his wallet. The fame goes to Homer's head as he starts tipping everyone and everything. Marge puts on her serious face and tells Homer his tipping has gotten out of control. He's wiped out their savings and put them in debt, all for a little bit of fame.
For once, people aren't judging me by the content of my character, but by the content of my wallet.
He realizes he has a tipping addiction and tries going cold turkey until Moe takes advantage of him by having a weird, some might say, sexual experience.
Give it to me, big boy.
You like that?
Oh, that's a spot.
Let's do this all night.
Right there.
Marge is overrun with debt bills, and Homer realizes people only care about the money he's giving them, not actually him. Homer goes missing and ends up in Little Europe, where tipping is forbidden. As usual, a really catchy song comes out of it.
Here In Euroland, extra money, not change hand. Eat the lunch from 12 to 3, know how you say gratuity.
Okay, that's enough, but yes, this goes on for over a minute. Bart and Lisa get Homer to come back and convince Americans to live the way of the Europeans.
Get rid of chips and live a better life. Who's with me?
Maybe not then. In the final episode of the season, Marge and Homer visit Grandpa at the retirement home with a surprise. A new, smaller room, which will be cheaper for them.
And once you're used to this smaller space, it'll ease your transition to a cozy pine box.
Bart and Lisa help Grandpa get rid of some of his stuff so he can downsize. Bart finds Grandpa's old war memorabilia, and he takes it straight to a pawn shop to see how much it's worth. He exchanges it all for a $100 gift card and starts looking around the shop to see what else they can find.
My life up to now has been merely a prelude. Today, a prank king becomes a prank god.
He comes across a human brain in a jar and just has to have it. Introducing Bart's brain. While the principals at the elementary school are showing around an inspector, Bart shows the entire school his new brain, which causes all the kids to start vomiting. Bart's punishment is to learn. No, seriously, he has to bring the brain in every day to learn from his mistakes. Bart is so terrified that his lip starts sweating, knowing his greatest prank has become homework. While everyone else has to look after an egg, Bart has to look after his brain and carry it everywhere he goes. Bart needs some me time and asks Homer to look after the brain. He takes it to Moe's, because where else does one go? And Bart goes to play video games with Milhouse. Bart starts to miss his little guy and heads back to see him, but Homer is late home.
It's about time, you good for nothing.
Relax, Marge.
Homer brings home a jar of pickled eggs and leaves the brain at Moe's. But when Bart goes there to pick it up, Moe has already thrown it out. He finds it with Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney and promises to take better care of the brain. Marge thinks Bart is going to become the town weirdo because he won't leave his brain alone. He gets an A+ on his assignment, and when it comes time to turn it in, he doesn't want to part with his brain.
Bart, it might be healthy for you to take a break from Buddy.
And it might be healthy for you to have your own kid and not live through us.
Ouch. The town moms start gossiping about how weird Bart is and how they don't want him around their children. Marge and Homer come up with the best way to solve this is to lock Bart in the house. Great parenting, guys. They go to church without Bart, but he sees what they're doing and makes a surprise appearance. Marge goes too far and basically says she doesn't love him anymore. Bart starts to realize he's ready to let the brain go and give it to science.
It was just a phase.
Really, Marge? If you got this far, leave a like and subscribe for more Simpsons content.